Hey,
Hello?
hey, Dad.
Yeah.
Who's this? It's
Yeah.
your long lost
Hell,
son that can never leave what he does anymore.
what? My long lost son. I don't know I lost you.
Yeah, well, the rate it's going, responsibilities have grown on my list. So, yeah, the long lost son. But yeah, hey, how you doing?
I, it took me a long time to learn how to lose you, didn't it?
Yeah, it sure did. But I'm back. But hey, I know that the couple came by yesterday to see you. How'd that go?
It went very well.
That's good.
In fact, Julia has asked me what my opinion was of Chris, and I've been trying now for 2 hours to respond between phone calls, and David just left for the second or third time.
Right.
I might be able to answer Julia before the day is out.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, well, sometimes you're popular for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, and if you don't learn quick, you never will know why you're unpopular.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
So,
Well, anyways, I just thought I'd give you a call and see how you're doing.
well, it's been hard, Gary.
Yeah,
I,
I know
I
that.
won't I won't duck that issue. It has been really, really hard, and the thing that bothers me, I'm not citing you, but
Yeah.
I can't understand why people just can't realize I'm mourning. I'm in
Yeah.
deep, deep sorrow. God damn it. Can't people understand that?
Yeah, well,
And the
sure.
answer is no, they don't. No, I don't. So, okay. I can't. Okay.
Right.
And I don't want to go ballistic on you because I know you do.
Yeah.
It's just,
Well, it's
really,
responsibilities, Dad. The challenge in life, just like for me, is, would I like to be down there? Sure, I would. But the reality is, the life, I have to work. I have to
right.
manage my own life, so I can't manage your life, and then, we all forget, that Mother was in such bad shape that it was hardship on the family like never ever seen. But I mean, we have forgotten that because the majority of our life always was the good times with Mother, not the bad. But I mean, but we so quickly forget that Mother just about killed you in all reality.
Well, Gary, I appreciate you saying that because every day I go through it with Rachel, with Leo, with David,
Yeah.
even with some friends. Some hard decisions had to be made, hard decisions. But okay, I didn't make the right hard decisions. Okay, I accept that. But
Well,
what
I
else
can't.
could I have done?
You can't blame yourself for
I
that,
was
Dad.
well. That's what goes on. It
Well,
wouldn't
it's
be
not
this way
right.
if there weren't hard, difficult decisions.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
that's too bad because that's not right,
yeah,
Dad. That's not right. And I know Mother would be in the same page in life that we don't live forever. So I mean, this isn't an equation of Mother died at 50 years old because of where you made bad decisions and something happened in that situation. So there's just no way to have any logic. To have any logic of that conversation, there's no conversation there to have because you know as well as I do, it's called getting old. That's the reality.
right.
So
You
I think
know,
it's foolish to have that type of conversation. That's a waste of time.
well, the one person I appreciate a lot. This is Dane,
Yeah.
and Dane really understands what's going on. And he called me one evening, last week.
Right.
Said Tracy said, I don't want this to be a long discussion. He said, I'm really just calling to see how you're doing.
Right.
Because you said, I've seen too many family members who try to become the caretaker, and it's not unusual for them to become as bad off as the person they're caring for. And he said, I just don't want that to happen to you.
Yeah.
So he said, I'm not asking you to explain anything. I'm just calling you to let you know I'm thinking for you. I'm praying for you. And
Right.
I think I told you that he believes in praying for miracles. I told you that, right?
Sure.
So I said, the miracle I want is I want 71 more years.
Yeah, okay.
I did. That's what I said.
Yeah. Well, Dad, what's interesting about how life operates, because Mom, in Mom's, last few years, it was extremely challenging to take care of Mother, and she wore you out like never ever seen. And the irony is that Mom would always be calling on you 24/7, and there was a time there not too long ago where I didn't know if you were just going to go nutty because of how much strain Mom put on you. But the irony to all that is that had Mom not called you into the bedroom that one last time and you hadn't fallen, and then Mom wouldn't have fallen out of the bed, it's possible that Mother still would be here. But the point of that conversation is Mother's never-ending, relentless needing help and assistance created her own end in so many ways.
Well, that's true, Gary, and I understand that, and I do. That is a lot of what went on there.
Right.
And it just that's why oftentimes the caretaker ends up as in bad or worse condition than the person they're taking the care of, because they're just being constantly, the person they're caring for is helpless. See,
right.
Your mother was an invalid. Technically, she was an invalid. She could not care for herself.
Right.
She couldn't.
Right. Oh, I know that. Right.
If I weren't here at her beck and call and able to fix a snack at a moment's notice or something, and she'd get faint and weak and couldn't even get out of bed to go use the bathroom.
Right.
Or couldn't even wash herself off.
Right.
I mean,
I know. I was there.
Right. I know you were. And poor Leah, she was tearing her to pieces. And then she and I have done a lot of the work on putting together the Celebration of Life program.
Yeah.
And we've got 60 pictures that have pictures of your mother with family members, your mother with friends, and we've had to pick those out of different albums, different things. 60, and Clea and I have been working the last 2 weeks with Tonya and the ministers to get the pictures kind of organized in some rational way. And what I've elected to do was organize them to coincide with where we were living, because we lived in 13 different cities and in half a dozen states.
Right.
So those pictures, you'll recognize them, and when you'll see them, you'll recognize that some were here in Florida at Longboat Boulevard, some were up there in Virginia and Vienna, and some were in New Jersey, and some were in California. I mean, it'll tell a beautiful story, but that's not easy to do. I mean, Leah, bless her soul, has been right at my side, and we have spent hours. Now we're working with Tonya and the ministers, and a couple of my brother elders are going to be a part of the program. And I've identified scripture I want them individually to read and to comment on.
Yeah.
And if Tonya, man, that lady, if she had 2 or 3 of these celebrations of life a month, we'd have to hire another full-time person.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, it's not only that it's so much spiritual, but so much family emotion involved, and it is just, I can't even describe it, Gary. Poor Leah, I thought I was going to have to call 911 for her 2 weeks ago. It was just, I finally got her calmed down and kept her away from it for a few days. But right now, she's at home pulling her hair out over Tonya needs some help with something, I don't know. Leah's coming over in a little bit. I told her to bring what she has and let me know what Tonya's telling her she needs, and we'll put it together, and if we have to, we'll take it over to the church this afternoon.
Yeah.
And then I got my kind of a new friend, Marty Jordan. He just recently married a woman who was born and raised in South Korea, and she's Lil, and her name's Lil, and she's really just a wonderful person. And I told Marty that I see in Lil some of the same things I saw in your mother: gentleness, a love and respect for the Bible and God's Word. And so I asked Marty, I found a scripture, 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 3, that really spells out the character that a Christian person should hold dear and a virtue. And I told Marty, I said, your new wife, Lil, I haven't been around her that much, but I just see some of the same qualities in her. And he was so taken by that. And he called me Sunday afternoon from Rome. He was in Rome in one of the chapels there. And Lil was with him. And he said, I told Lil what you said, and she wants to talk to you. Well, that just drove me up. And so I talked to Lil, and she started crying. I said, Lil, I just wanted your new husband, Marty, to help service by reading the scripture. And I told him that I've seen some of the same qualities in you that I saw in her. And she just torn up. Wow. And I said, I hope you don't mind. She said, no. She said, I love it. She said, I saw you. I didn't get to know your wife well, but a wonderful Christian person there. And what you added to the obituary, that version is going to be the obituary that's printed on the inside page of our bulletin of the program we had done. And Jared Hopman, Sr., the father of our youth ministers, is make comments from the obituary.
Yeah.
And he specifically is going to be making comments about that last sentence or two that you added, where you talked about the strength of a Christian woman being the strength of a family.
That's nice.
And I told him to, pay some attention, and he will. He's a good. Jared's a great guy. He's a Uber driver. He sees some really crazy stuff.
Well, hey, wait a second, Dad. Wait a second, Dad. You're an elder. I think you can probably testify for that as well.
Good point.
You should have told him that. He said, "Hey, buddy, you think you've heard it all? You haven't heard it all. Sign up to be an elder, then you'll hear it all."
Well, Gary, that's when I read that and learned that you had added that to the obituary. That just tore me up because you hit it right on the head.
Well, I'm glad I did that.
And your mother, and when Dane hadn't known us very long, but he said, I bet Vera is the glue to the family. And I said, yep, she absolutely is, Dane.
Right.
Absolutely is.
Right.
I said, I traveled a lot. I just moved all over the country with corporate America. And I said, she adapted. She did what she had to. She was raising 4 children almost by herself at different times during that. I worked nights for 3 years and went to school all day. I'd be home at 10:30 at night. Wouldn't show up till mid-afternoon the next day after attending classes at Vanderbilt, Peabody, and she's stuck there with, by the time I was finished, with 3 children, alone at night, alone half of the day, then having a meal for me at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon so I could go to bed and sleep for 4 or 5 hours. And that went on for nearly 3 years.
Yeah, wow.
And to this day, I don't know how we got through that. I swear I don't know how we got through that.
Yeah, Dad. You know what's incredible about all that? And just to think if you would have married Doris. Just think if she would have taken your hand and danced the night away with you. And you'd have had a whole different life. You'd probably already be dead in all reality. If I would have died about 40 years ago.
That's why people want to ask me, how you doing? And I said, better than I should be.
Oh my gosh. And it's incredible how your good friend in the military did marry her and he was dead 40 years ago.
Well, I probably would be, but
isn't that something?
Sometimes
you
don't want to. Yeah.
You know what'd be interesting, Dad, is to know whose idea was it to go to the dance, Doris or Mom's? That would be something. Do you even know if you ever asked Mom?
Which dance?
The dance you guys met.
Huh?
The dance that you met Mother. You and Mother, you went out and you met Mother at a dance with Doris. Right?
YWCA in Nashville.
Right. What I'm saying is,
well, you had a number of military bases around Nashville within about 30-40 miles.
Yeah.
So they sponsored this dance every Saturday night.
Right.
So one of my buddies talked me into going into town. It was Nashville. We had the weekend off. We went in, and he talked me into going to that dance.
Yeah.
It's YWCA there. So we go there, and there were quite a few people there, and I saw these 2 ladies standing across the like a gymnasium floor there, and the DJ and the band is tuned up. So I walked over and I was looking at your mother and looking at her friend Doris standing beside her, And I'm trying to figure out now which one of those do I ask to dance. So when I got there, I decided on asking Doris. So I did. And Doris declined. I knew someday, and then I asked your mother, and she accepted. But I knew that someday I'm going to be asked that question. Why didn't you ask me first?
Yeah. Right.
I told your mother. I had a quick response to that.
You're smart.
Because I knew you would refuse me.
That's a great
said,
one.
wow. It didn't take you long to think of that.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. But hey, Dad. But here's the question. I wonder if it was Doris or Mom that convinced one of them to go to that dance, like what happened to you. Do you know that answer?
Other than the fact that it's God's will that I be there.
Right, I know. But what I'm saying to you, Dad, is, do you know? Did you ever ask Mom whose idea was it to go to that dance? Was it Doris's idea or Mom's? Did you ever ask her that?
I never did, but she'd been there. She and Doris had been there more than once.
Yeah.
And the YWCA really pushed it, for their members. They wanted their members to invite, whoever it was, servicemen or college students there, whoever.
Right.
And it was a very popular thing. I mean, it was like there were probably a couple hundred people there. It wasn't like there were 20 or 30 people there, no.
Yeah.
And
but here's hey, Dad.
Yeah.
But here's a dangerous question. What song did you dance to Mom for the first song?
Moonglow.
What?
Moonglow.
Moonglow. Okay, that's your guys' name of the boat, and that's already been your thing. So I didn't know that. So you remembered
Exactly.
that. Moonglow. Who sang it?
Yeah. Well, the DJ, there was a younger band, young bunch of guys, and the DJ sang it.
But you don't know the artist's name?
Was.
You don't know who the artist's name is that made it?
No.
Is the Moonglow part of the celebration of life?
No.
That would be neat. That'd be neat.
Well, your mother had some favorite Christian songs, and they'll be some.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Moonglow, I don't remember hearing that conversation between you and Mom, that Moonglow was all going back to, your first meeting, first dance. I didn't know that.
Yeah. It had to be Moonglow. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's something. It's a forever story for your, for the way things played out in life. Had you ever gone through the flight school and never been rejected, it'd have been a whole different life.
No, there's a lot of them. I remember when I went home on military leave, and I was in Nashville.
Yeah.
Seward Air Force Base. And I went home for Christmas. And actually, I took one of my best friends, Sid Winter, who became a very successful architectural designer, and he set up his own company, and he married my sister's best friend. But anyway, he went with me on leave from Seward Air Force Base. We drove up there to Mendota, and while we were there, I told my mother, I said, Mom, I met the girl I'm going to marry. And she said, oh, really? And I told her about her family and how I met her. And my mother says, well, you're sure she's going to accept? And I said, well, she just is. He says, oh, okay.
That's pretty classic.
Well, that didn't take place.
Yeah. Well, why wouldn't she marry me?
Yeah, exactly.
Little did she know us in tow for that.
Well, then when I took care of my daughter the first time, it was like shell shock, and she wouldn't believe my dad. So we were in Mendota for a short time, and years later, Vera told one of my friends, she said, you know, Gracie's dad was a magician. Oh, wow. He said, well, the street he could turn into a bar.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Because Mendota, I don't know how you may remember about Mendota, but just about every other establishment in the business district there,
Yeah.
you would find a bar. There'd be a bar.
Yeah.
There'd be a
Right.
dime store. There'd be a drug, something else. There'd be a bar.
Yeah.
There'd be a bar.
Yeah, but Dad, you know what? I was talking on one of my videos here just about a week or so ago about alcoholism and about, you know, the challenges of us individuals drinking way too much. And, you know, I was talking about how up north there is there's just bar after bar after bar in the colder states. But I was also talking about how just in my own family, alcoholism has killed a lot of our family members. I mean, your father passed early from drinking too hard, right or wrong.
Yeah, but they gave my, I don't know what having this trouble. But my Mark Twain, yeah, I've told you this many times too. Mark Twain, you know, was a humorist in the 1800s.
Hey.
And he said every person has to have a few vices,
Right.
so they got something to give up when they get sick.
Right.
So I told my dad one time, I said, hey, Dad, I said, you know, and this was after I'd been married 20 years, quite a few years. I said, Dad, you took what Mark Twain recommended too seriously. He looks at me kind of funny. So what's that? Mark Twain said, you have to have a few vices to give up, so when you get sick, you can get rid of them. I said, you took that to heart. I think he laughed, but I'm not sure. I didn't repeat it.
Right. Well, Dad, what did your Uncle Jack die from?
Actually, colon cancer.
Was he a heavy drinker?
He almost got evicted from the nursing home because his buddies would come in and they'd tie these small bottles of liqueur, vodka, Jack Daniels. They were tying them to the under his mattress, and the nursing home finally started finding those things. And my sister got the call, and they told her, hey, your dad's buddies can't come in here anymore with these bottles of liquor that they're hiding under the mattress for him. And Joe called me and said, Mary, you gotta help me. I think Dad's gonna be evicted from the nursing home.
Well, where did your dad get the name Doc?
When I was in high school, one of their favorite things used to be just what the doctor ordered. And so I started calling him Doc. And he called me Doc. And he called me just like you did a while ago. And I know it was, hey, Doc, what are you doing? He said, I'm doing this. What are you doing, Doc? Doc.
Yeah.
Just what the doctor ordered.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I never knew of that.
And the other thing my dad, when he had, and I thought I told you this, when we had a delivery business, I drove one route. We had two routes. He'd drive one route in the morning. I'd drive one route. And oftentimes I had a guy, one of my classmates, Kenny Nowell, would ride. He'd run the milk up to the door and whatnot. And our competitor in town was the Hunky Dory Dairy. And my dad, if Kenny and I had started monkeying around or messing things up, my dad would say, the Hunky Dory boys don't do that.
Hunky Dory. What a name.
The Hunky Dory Dairy, yeah.
What was your name? What was your company name?
Gray's Delivery.
Gray's Delivery, huh? How many babies did your dad deliver?
We had two routes.
Hey, Dad.
They were both about 70 or 80 each. And we'd start delivering about 4:30 in the morning. My dad would have to go over to a big dairy in a place called Earlville, which was 12 miles from Mendota. He'd go over and he'd fill that day's order around 5:30, 6, and we'd have that day's customers, what they would order, quart, pint, half quart, cream, homogenized, pasteurized products, cheeses, cottage cheese, and once in a while we did have some canned, like Ready Whip that